Are the judges associated with the Charlie Kirk assassination trial linked to Israeli IP addresses? This video is going to blow your mind. We are addressing that as well as the odd, broad-reaching gag order that no one asked for, that the judge just implemented. Let's get into it. All right, guys, I saw this and I had to come out of my vacation from content creation to deal with this. If you're new to the channel, my name is Ashley Brianna Eve. I have over 15 years of experience in branding, marketing, and PR, and now I like to bring you behind the headlines of trending stories. Now, this is not yet a trending story, but this is absolutely looking like narrative control, which is part of my wheelhouse. Part of PR is controlling the narrative. So let's dive into this new narrative that is being put out there today. For this, we're going to start with Sam Parker over on X. I also want to look at Andrea Burkhart's video. She is a lawyer, and her thoughts on this broad-reaching gag order that literally no one asked for. The judge just put it out. Well, no one we know of asked for. Maybe the puppet masters did. Breaking news, Sam Parker says, Tyler Robinson trial. Tony Graff, the judge selected to preside over the Charlie Kirk assassination trial, and the judge he replaced, Robert Lunin, were both the subject of unique Google searches from Israeli IP addresses. Now, you might say, Ashley, that's not a big deal, right? We can see it right here. It's not a big deal. Well, the problem is that's from before the assassination. These happened on July 26th and May 15th, respectively. And I checked the software and it does look like this actually did happen. Neither was the subject of any searches in Utah until after the assassination. Judge Lunin retired on August 1st and Judge Graff assumed his duties on August 4th. On or about the same day, Mehtab Saeed, I apologize if I mispronounced, the special agent in charge of the SLC FIB field office was removed. Just a bunch of coincidences? Sources are here. So this is what we're seeing here. New Utah judge takes on accused killer's death penalty case in Charlie Kirk murder. So Judge Tony Graff. And we see here Tony Graff, Robert Lunin. This is based on this image is Israel. So that's where we're looking at the Google trend from. You can pick where you're searching. May 15th and July 26th. It seems like a huge coincidence, if you ask me. Now, if we go to the next tweet, Judge Robert Lunin retired on August 1st, 2025. He was replaced by Judge Tony Graff, who was sworn in on August 4th after Graff was appointed by Governor Spencer Cox on May 2nd, 2025. Also notable, Graff formerly worked as a special assistant to the U.S. Attorney in Washington, D.C. Robert C. Lunin, 4th District Court, Utah's retirement is listed as effective August 1st. Tony F. Graff Jr., appointed May 2nd, 2025. Swearing-in date is reported as August 4th, 2025. So we're seeing the announcement of judicial vacancy, January 17th, 2025 here. We're also seeing Governor Spencer Cox appoints Tony F. Graff to the 4th District Court. And let me tell you guys, if you don't believe things can be this connected, I am concerned for you in this world, or maybe being naive is one of the best ways to navigate this world we're in. I don't know. Either you need to be fully awake and see it or just stay asleep. But I am building out a platform over on Substack, both a free tier and a paid tier. And on the paid tier, I'm going into content that I just cannot post publicly because my channel keeps getting hit by YouTube. So if you want more on what I can't put publicly, make sure to head over to Substack. I will put it in the show notes here. So it talks about Utah Governor Spencer J. Cox has appointed Tony F. Graff to the 4th District Court, filing a vacancy left by the retirement of Judge Robert Lunin. So this is just all the receipts, as the kids say, all of those receipts. August 4th. So it says still no one expected that his first major assignment would come so quickly after he was sworn in on August 4th. That is weird, right? It's not something he asked for, Evershed said. It's not something anyone could have anticipated. Neither judge was searched for from DC or Utah IP addresses before the assassination, only from Israeli IP addresses. So we're seeing that again here. We have the image. It's just showing it over and over. So we can see Israel, Tony's in blue, Robert's in red. This is between May and I'd say early July, potentially. We see here District of Columbia, Tony Graff, Robert Lunin, and Google Trends says, your search doesn't have enough data to show. So it's basically saying, no one was searching for these names in the District of Columbia. Looks like the date here is January 2025 to October 19th, 2025. And then this next Google trend, it looks like Utah. Again, looking for both of them, January 1st, 2025 to October 19th, 2025. We're looking at maybe, or no, here, September 21st to September 27th. Tony Graff, 100 searches. What? And that's in Utah? That seems like a lot. That's a significant spike. Utah, again, we have here Tony, a spike on between October 12th and 18th. There was 10. Now in the fourth post on this, Mehtab Saeed's removal from the SLC FBI field office was announced in the media on August 5th, 2025. These are really interesting timelines. I don't really believe in a coincidence like this. So we see this high-ranking FBI job losses disproportionately hurt women, people of color. Here's the article here. An unprecedented campaign by FBI leaders to force senior bureau officials out of their jobs has disproportionately hit women and people of color, according to public reports. In the most recent example, FBI leaders last week forced the resignation of a decorated female Pakistani American counterterrorism agent who was appointed in February to run the Salt Lake City field office. That's interesting. One current and two former FBI officials told MSNBC. The special agent in charge in Salt Lake City, Mehtab Saeed, is being forced out just 6 months after being appointed in February for reasons that are not clear. So Pakistani American counterterrorism agent being forced out. No one knows why these agents are being forced out. And we have these judges that are being put in and certain people being put in specific positions at interesting times, interesting spikes on Google Trends. And then one of those judges shows up in the Charlie Kirk assassination trial. So we have here Mehtab Saeed's removal order likely came from Stephen Miller of the White House. And there's notes and threads in regards to that. The one here says, the day Charlie was assassinated, The Guardian ran a story that the order to take action against the FBI or the fired FBI agents in early August came from White House aide Stephen Miller, someone who isn't in any Department of Justice FBI chain of command. Number 6, Judge Tony Graff has issued a gag order on all witnesses in the Charlie Kirk assassination trial. The judge presiding, this is Ryan Matta, the judge presiding over Tyler Robinson's trial has set an unprecedented gag order that has gagged every single witness that has been identified. And one of the things Andrea Burkhart talks about is it's also potential lawyers. Like if you could potentially be on the case, you are also gagged. How the hell that makes sense, I don't know. But at the end of the day, maybe Andrew Colvett does need to be gagged because every time he opens his mouth, he makes it worse. I'm not a fan of that guy. Sam continues, of the 5 finalists announced in April to be under consideration for the Judge Lunin vacancy, Von Christensen was also searched for from Israel prior to the assassination. So we have here the Google Trends. Sam put in Ryan Stack, Samuel Peed, Joshua, I don't know the last name, and Von Christensen, Israel, January 1st, 2025 to October 19th, 2025. And you can see that spike. Now, if you ask me, this does not look good. Major players are being moved around. And not only are major players being moved around, but the judges changed with someone that's kind of unprecedented, not enough experience, and is taking over this high-profile case of Charlie Kirk. And then not only is it unprecedented in that respect, but puts through an unprecedented gag order. And we're just supposed to continue to believe that all of this is just a coincidence. I'm not buying it. So let's see what Andrea Burkhart has to say.
And like we already mentioned, this very nominal factual predicate and done on the court's own motion. Nobody asked for this. The court decided to do it themselves, and just based on, well, people are interested in this case, so this could be an issue. Guys, this is a huge problem from a First Amendment standpoint. You do not lose your First Amendment rights just because you witness a crime. This is crazy. This is crazy stuff. So, yeah, I went down the rabbit hole. I had to go down the rabbit hole with this. Part of the issue here, I think, is that, you know, back at the time of the founding, even, you know, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, maybe, you get charged with a crime and you have your trial a few months later. Few months later. That is not today's world. Today's world is you get charged with a crime, the accusations and the evidence that justified the arrest, that is out there in the news, in the public arena, and you might not get tried for years. And so the whole time, every time there's a news story about the case, what do they have? They have that same initial information, the accusation, the evidence against you. It gets repeated over and over and over again. And that becomes the story of the case because the defense is gagged and they don't get to put their story out there. And so for years that gets reinforced until there's.
Do you hear what Andrea's saying is basically narrative control? You reinforce a certain narrative. This gag order is reinforcing a certain narrative. This is really important.
There's a trial, or, you know, maybe there isn't. Maybe there is no trial because, you know, like, look, I'm not going to get a fair shake here. You do the plea deal. And then you may never know what some of the evidence is. You may never know. So this is just, for me, it's a troubling, very troubling state of affairs. This is not an even playing field when it comes to information about the case. It does not create a fairer situation to shut up the defense right after the prosecution has gotten their initial accusation out and blown it up.
And the interesting thing is some of the stories I've seen come out from the defense's side, including from Tyler Robinson's own grandmother, is that he wasn't a hunter. This could not have been him. He doesn't use guns. This was a family heirloom. It's not like he was a gun collector. So interesting that now we have this unprecedented, essentially, gag order, broad sweeping gag order, after we have these odd searches from Israeli IP addresses searching these judges, a judge coming in on this type of case after being newly appointed on August 5th, being unprecedented as well. Where do we start to look at all these coincidences and say something's not right? And I know those watching this video have been asking that for a while.
And just from a kind of fundamental perspective, it does not help the credibility of the courts to be shutting up criticism of their processes. Okay, if the defense doesn't think they're getting a fair shake, yeah, they should have every opportunity to be able to express that, because that's an important part of our system of government, of the people, by the people, for the people. It's ours. But somehow judges and trials are supposed to be this untouchable.
All right, let's quickly hear Andrea's final analysis of this, and then I'll give my PR take on this, even though I've been saying it all along, so I'm not really good at waiting till the end.
What has happened, like I said, courts have figured out little workarounds, and other courts have figured out, here's ways that we can distinguish Nebraska Press from the circumstances that we're facing and what we want to be able to do. And so the first area of departure is that these gag orders now no longer apply to the press, right? They don't order the press not to publish information. They just order witnesses and investigators and lawyers and everybody not to provide it to the press in the first place.
They put out their angle, the courts and the powers that be put out their angle, and now there's a gag order, so no one else can say anything. And the little bit of information that's out there is going to get drilled over and over and over again until this case goes to court. And I agree, that's a problem, especially when we combine it with the information that Sam Parker had found and put on X. But from a narrative control angle, what are the benefits of this gag order? Number one, it suppresses competing narratives from insiders. The effect by barring attorneys, witnesses, including, I would imagine, over 3,000 event attendees or however many people were there, thousands of people, investigators, law enforcement, everyone essentially. The gag order prevents credible sources from leaking details that could challenge the official story, which is the lone sniper motivated by political ideology. This stifles firsthand accounts of anomalies, things that don't add up, and it's under the guise of to protect the trial. And this stifles firsthand accounts of anomalies, people pointing out things, maybe different witnesses saying different things, security failures or suspicious figures that are there. All of that could fuel alternative theories. But now we're locked in on the lone shooter, Tyler Robinson. We got our guy after we thought we had the guy multiple times. The PR value here is it ensures the public only hears a unified, sanitized version of events. And this is all in hypothetical, right, my friends? Hypothetical. Let's say that there are connections to government. Let's say there is a cover-up. Hard to believe there isn't at this point. This is all hypothetical. So the PR value ensures the public only hears a unified, sanitized version of events through controlled channels. Court-approved statements, court-approved channels. That's it. This minimizes the risk of viral ex posts or news reports amplifying claims that maybe a witness at the event says. I mean, hell, we even have in this gag order, from what I understand watching Andrea's episode, that potential lawyers are even gagged. So is it like every lawyer in America is gagged now? Because you maybe potentially might be on the case? This is ridiculous. Number two, it starves speculative media cycles, or, it's meant to. It's meant to. It forces media outlets to rely on limited official updates. Of course, that's not good. At this point, how do you shut down social media entirely? Good luck with that. Candace Owens has already said she will continue to report on it. I'm here reporting on it. Other people are reporting on it. I'm in Canada anyway, so I can't imagine this court has any jurisdiction over me for this. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds tried that with their court case and sent me a subpoena through Google. I don't know. I guess maybe the courts can try to take down my YouTube channel. Shouldn't give them any ideas. This channel's getting hit enough ever since I started talking about Charlie Kirk. But it does force media outlets, especially traditional media, rely on limited official reports, which again are coming from official channels. Not PR value is it keeps the narrative focused on Robinson's guilt. Political ideology, lone shooter, this 30-odd 6 that everyone's proven there's no way that was the bullet used or the gun used. That's been proven over and over again online. Even with Turning Point's statement that Charlie Kirk's just the Man of Steel, so it makes sense. But it keeps it focused, keeps an echo chamber. And it buys time. So if, in theory, there was a cover-up going on, it buys time. If you shut everyone up with a gag order, it's preventing anyone from amplifying, again, unvetted stories or claims and unraveling the official line. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to silence Candace Owens with her platform and her platform size. Number three, it deflects scrutiny from political actors. So the gag order does shield institutions. It shields major players. It's going to shield Utah officials, Turning Point USA individuals. They're all under it. Why does Turning Point USA need to be gagged? Andrew Colvett, he wasn't a witness. He said that himself, he wasn't there. So why does he need to be gagged? Again, it's all this control of the narrative to keep an echo chamber. Number 4, we're going to go into it a little bit more. I touched on it. It buys time to shape or potentially, hey, I'm not saying this is all hypothetical, or bury evidence. With Robinson and high security isolation, they got the guy, and case documents sealed. The gag order has the potential to create a window where no new public information disrupts the narrative. This allows time, in theory, to align witness testimonies, scrub digital trails, cover your tracks. It also has the potential to prevent any leaks that spark public demand for federal investigations, as an example, to demand independent audits, which might uncover inconvenient truths like security mismanagement or political motives. Again, it stops any information from getting out there. The potential PR risks of this gag order is the limited scope. Again, you can't silence all content creators. You can't silence people on X and on Instagram and on YouTube unless you take down everyone's account. So all this does is draw more attention. So what do you got to hide? Why is there this broad-reaching gag order with a switch in judges that seems really interesting with this trail to Israeli IP addresses? That's interesting. And in theory, you could have a whistleblower go straight to a content creator. As a follow along of that, with the risks for PR, is perceived guilt. Again, what do you have to hide? I think all it does is get more attention on the fact that something's off here. It doesn't make sense. No one asked for this gag order. The judge that is new to the bench since August 5th on this massive case, judge came up with it himself. And again, with this not being able to silence content creators, perceived amplification of guilt, there's going to be a backfire effect. This order fuels distrust on social media and the judicial system. It looks like you have something to hide. And where people are already speculating, where people are already putting together the pieces of some kind of big cover-up, I think this is only going to amplify conspiracy theories, making the narrative harder to control long-term. So yes, from a PR perspective, the gag order acts as a firewall, choking off insider leaks to maintain a singular controlled narrative around Tyler Robinson. We got our guy. He's a lone shooter. It protects implicated politicians or potentially implicated politicians, delays speculative, or it attempts to delay speculative media frenzies, and buys time to manage evidence. Because y'all, those text messages, I'm sorry, but Tyler Robinson did not write those. It sounds like a dad FBI guy that was hanging out at medieval times with his kids and was a little bit too into the vibe of medieval times. Have you guys ever been there? The horse and medieval dinner and show? It's a hoot. I love it. But there's no way the events that they are telling us is how things went down. I don't believe it. So it has potentially the time to manage the evidence. All critical. If, in theory, someone is sustaining a cover-up. And by silencing Tyler Robinson, if he's not the guy, you also silence him. You also silence his family. But the risk. And I don't think a lot of people are catching up to how big of a risk this is. And I mean, a lot of people in terms of government, judicial system. It is amplifying public suspicion. It's already a polarized conversation around this. There's already a lot of judicial distrust in every country. This is just giving them fuel to keep doing that because it seems like there's something to hide. But I would say this actually isn't going to work the way they want it to. When we have lawyers that are going to their channels to talk about this and how it's a problem, I think we should all have concerns. And I think we should all be looking at this case with a more critical eye. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this. Please make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment. And if you wanted more unfiltered takes, head over to Substack. I'll put the link in the pinned comments. Over there, we're building out a whole platform where I'm going to go into content that I just can't say on YouTube because of censorship. All right, my friends, with that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys. What I found, nobody wants to hear.